You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning. Hello and welcome to, I'm holding my back scratcher, to Psychedelics and Cannabis educational news for today, June 15th, 2023. And I get to say happily that I have my regular co-host back in his co-host spot, back in Canada. Welcome home, Glenn.
Well, thank you very much. I don't feel like a regular co-host. I'm kind of a part-timer, it seems like, lately.
Just lately,
Yeah.
running around in Costa Rica with bad internet,
Yeah. Well, I'm back in Canada. I have good internet for now.
Nice. For now, let's hope it stays. No, really excited to have you back. Really excited to have you home. And Glenn and I will be together for the next 4-ish weeks before I take off, and he's going to have a different co-host for a while. I guess we just keep playing that game with each other, but that's okay. Keeps things fun. Keeps Thursdays interesting. You never know who's going to be here.
And traveling is so worthwhile, no matter where you go, no matter when you do it.
It is. I get to travel across Canada in a camper van, so I'm like super excited.
Sounds awesome to me.
We are going to head off to the first story coming to us from CTV. Actually, CTV News Atlantic. New Brunswick's first private cannabis store is now open. Yay, New Brunswick.
New Brunswick's first privately run cannabis store has just opened. Cannabis Express, an Ontario retail chain, began operating Tuesday in Grand Bay, Westfield.
It's exciting. Cannabis New Brunswick has expanded the model to allow private companies to open up stores, says owner Chris Jones. Pardon me. And it's exciting for us. Oh, look, I'm getting a thing in my throat because all of our stores are in Ontario. It's nice to bring them to another province as well. In the fall of 2022, Cannabis New Brunswick ended a process to approve private cannabis retail locations in underserved communities.
And under the new retail model, private cannabis retailers will be required to source all supplies from Cannabis New Brunswick. Anecdotally, we think about half of cannabis sales in the provinces are coming through Cannabis New Brunswick, or what we're calling legal retail channels, says Cannabis New Brunswick CEO Lori Stickles. So there is a lot of opportunity, I think, for these private retailers to bring customers in that we are maybe shopping in the legacy market right now.
From that perspective, there are opportunities, she said. Jones said he expected Cannabis Express to open locations in Hampton and St. Andrews within the next few months.
And Cannabis New Brunswick confirmed private retail locations would soon open in Blackville and Bucktouche, which is Cost Cannabis, and Chipman, which is Green Timber Cannabis. Tenders for private retail locations have also been approved in Caraquet, St. Quentin, and Salisbury.
Nice. In May, Cannabis New Brunswick reported fourth quarter sales ending April 2nd, 2023 at $20.5 million for the 3 months, a decrease of 2.5% compared to the same period last year. Previously, Cannabis New Brunswick's Farm Gate program has allowed licensed New Brunswick cannabis producers to sell their own products on site at their own facilities, which is really cool. I went to visit one of them the last time I drove out to Ontario. You set me up to go see it. And I didn't get a tour of the actual facility itself, but I got to have a chat with one of the owners. And of course the lady that runs the store out front. And it's kind of neat because it's just this tiny little store in front of this great big building, right? And they're just doing it on their own property. And
I love that we have some private retailers in there. I wish it was some little guys, not some big guys. But
yeah, well, I mean, even the guy that's coming down from Ontario, I mean, he has a chain, but he is still a little guy.
Yeah.
And he is still a private guy. So he will be able to run it different than Cannabis New Brunswick, which is pretty cool, right? And
It is cool because Cannabis New Brunswick, not a word of a lie, the only word I can think of is they suck. It's terrible.
well, yeah, it's the way that it's presented. And when you go to privatize, they can do it different, and they can have sales, and they can do this, and they can do that, things that the government won't do.
Yeah.
I've seen that and as I'm sure you have in Ontario and BC. I mean, like you can go out to BC and you mean the prices are different in every store. They can decide if they're going to have a sale because they have all these pre-rolls, so they're only going to make a buck off each of them, like from like retail wise, so they're all
Yeah.
on sale. And yeah, it's they're allowed to do that, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The prices are crazy. They have come down, but they're still way, way high.
They are, and they're coming down, so they're heading the right way. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed they keep going that way. We're gonna head over now to the Free Press, and Glenn's gonna head to Facebook Messenger. But we're heading over to the Free Press, and we're gonna this story kind of caught my eye this morning, and I bumped another story for it. Cannabis workers ratify first union contract. A union in cannabis?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have it. Give me a second here.
Where?
Okay, here we go. More than 100 cannabis employees at the 10 joint locations in Manitoba have accepted their first collective agreement under the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, Local 832. The workers were certified as union members on June 2022.
Huh. I'm proud of our new members who stood up for their rights to join the UFCW. That makes me feel like they're all going to go wrestling and work together on not only organizing their workplace, but also working with us to obtain the first collective agreement for cannabis retail workers in the province of Manitoba, said President Jeff Traeger in a news release. Cannabis workers who were concerned about safety, pay rates, and unjust discipline ratified a 30-month agreement.
Since these workers have joined us, we have heard from numerous other cannabis retail workers about joining our union, said Traeger. UFCW Local 832 represents 19,000 Manitobans who work in food production, food distribution, warehousing, hospitality, security, personal care, assisted living, and grocery retail and cannabis retail.
Now, cannabis retail.
Yeah.
I
Unionized cannabis.
That seems wrong on so very many levels.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very strange situation.
Yeah. I'm not a big union fan anyway. I'm a big fan of, if you want to keep the job, well, you work hard and you keep your job, not hide behind, a mask. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'm also all for employers treating their employees properly so they don't need a union or feel they need a union. But so I don't know, like we're saying that we can't give advice and we can't do anything. I just think it makes all kinds of wrong mixed in with everything else. It makes all kinds of no sense too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're going to be very constrained as to what they can and cannot do because of union rules and things. It's different.
Yeah. I don't think it's the right thing, but I guess we're going to have to sit back and watch it.
Yeah. Now I don't have any stories left. I've lost them all. So if you just tell me which one's next, I'll click on it and we'll see how long it takes to load.
Well, hopefully it won't take you very long. We're going to an MJ Biz Daily story right now, Glenn. Quebec Cannabis Retail Monopoly, SQDC, posts a 94.9 million annual net income.
Okay, where are we here? Hey, I got it. Look at that. The Society Québécoise du Cannabis, the monopoly retailer of, hold on a sec, I got to pop up here. Retailer of local recreational cannabis in Canada's second, in Canada's second most populous province, reported a net income of 94.9 million Canadian dollars for its fiscal year ended March 31st or March 25th. The government-owned cannabis ventures such as SQDC are Canada's most profitable regulated marijuana businesses, MJ Business Daily has reported.
The SQDC's $94.9 million net income represents a 25.4% increase over the previous fiscal year. To this can be added the government revenues generated by the SQDC's operation in the form of consumer and excise tax, estimated at $193.8 million, with $137.8 million going to Quebec and only $56 million going to the federal government, the SQDC noted on a Monday news release.
The SQDC's total contribution to the Quebec Treasury is therefore $232.7 million. SQDC cannabis sales for the 2022-23 fiscal year totaled $601.9 million, a negligible increase from the previous year's $600.5 million.
An extra $1 million.
Yeah.
On a national level, Canada's adult use cannabis market grew nearly 18% from 2021 to 2022 to more than 4.5 billion Canadian dollars. Billion, not million. After 4 years of sustained expansion of its sales network, the SQDC has now reached a plateau in its growth, according to the provincial retail monopoly.
The plateau came despite the SQDC's addition of 10 new retail stores during the fiscal year. The monopoly earlier attributed the sales plateau largely to an ongoing labor dispute with workers at 24 of the chain's locations, represented by the Canadian Union of Public Employees. That's what we were just talking about. Those stores are open on reduced schedules, the SQDC said. An agreement with workers represented by another union was ratified on June 2022. And this is what I fear when unions take over places like this. When the medical patients want to get their medicine, they can't because they're in a union dispute, and that's not right.
No, Quebec has been, they've had this union dispute for a while. They have. I was in Quebec when it all really first started, and they're not closing the stores. The union, like they're on strike, but they're not doing 0 hours. They're doing cut back hours, and I think they're open for 4 hours a day.
Okay.
From like 12 to 4 or 1 to 5. So they are open. They're just squishing their hours while they're doing their thing. So I will give Quebec that. That's pretty cool that they're making sure that they have some open hours so people can get their medicine, which is really good. Compared to other provinces, the SQDC operates relatively few stores to serve Quebec's population, which is estimated to be approaching 8.8 million people. The retailer has 98 brick and mortar locations open to date, only 98 in that huge province. The SQDC said it will be implementing a new strategic plan over the next 3 years. And according to the SQDC, the plan will enable the company to continue actively carrying out its mission to migrating consumers aged 21 and older from the illicit market to the legal market while maintaining a focus on health protection. And with that, I read 21 years old to be able to buy cannabis in Quebec, but yet you only have to be 18 to drink.
Yeah, and you have to be 18 to join the army and die for our country. So 21 seems a little bit ludicrous to me. And the other thing in this article is about making money. And there's not much else that I see, anything to help the population. This is about money.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's government owned, it's government run. Everything about the government is making money. The same as the fact that the cannabis stores are in liquor stores here in Nova Scotia. New Brunswick has been all up until yesterday. They, with the exception of the few farm gate, but still, it's not really the same. The government has owned it all there. Even BC hasn't fully let go. Like they have private stores, but they also have BC cannabis. Same as there's New Brunswick cannabis. So those companies are in it for the money. You will not see any of these government-owned companies running sales like the private companies will. Like, I mean, you will see a little bit here and there. It's like, oh, gee, ABC LP Limited, their 1, 2, 4 pre-rolls aren't selling. Let's put those on sale. But they're on sale because the government has put it on sale at they're ordering it on sale. So that's why it's on sale. And government's all about making money, and we do know that. 2, 3, we're doing really good. We can, we can chat more. It's only quarter after. We're way ahead. I'm impressed with us. Heading to the
Okay.
last story before the break, and we do have some longer stories in here, so I'm sure that we will make up for it all. We're heading over to, it says Microsoft Start, but it's really global news. So it's the Kingston, Ontario story, Glenn. I know that you need to go searching for it. Kingston, Ontario Psychedelic Wellness Company partners with St. Lawrence College for a study.
Okay, it's loading right now.
Woo!
Bam, it's fast.
Yay!
Okay. Research into drug use has come a long way since the Just Say No campaigns of the 1980s. Now the focus is shifting to the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics, treating mental illnesses like anxiety, depression, and PTSD. St. Lawrence College in Kingston is looking to lead the way in the psychedelics wellness movement.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Over 60% of our academic programming relates to health and well-being, says Dr. John Conrad, Director of Innovation and Business Engagement at St. Lawrence College. So these students that are in these programs, these are new skills and new competencies that they're going to need to have.
The college is partnering with local psychedelic wellness company, Nuema, to launch a 5-week course providing students with an understanding of the history, science, principles, and philosophy of psychedelics in therapeutic care. Nuema co-founder Corey Firth says renewed interest in psychedelics is coming from the current mental health crisis.
Absolutely, because it helps. Like, I mean, I am walking, talking, loud proof. I really am. Anybody that knew me 5 years ago and then would meet me again now, they'd be like, okay, so you're Cindy Howell's twin sister, because that's, you know.
I wish I would have known you, because then I would have known the change too.
Yeah. Ask anybody who knows me from 5 years ago. They'll tell you, listen, you don't want to know her. Run. And I'm not over exaggerating at all, not even by a little bit. You know, I'm sad, but yet proud to say that because of how far I've come. What we're really trying to do with this program is to show people that they have more control over their mental health, and they have tools. Firth said, psychedelics are just a tool and a vehicle to sort of help them understand themselves better. How true. The course will provide that. I want to go take this course now. This course will provide an interactive learning platform for live and self-guided content, lectures, and hundreds of hours of additional resources.
They will also have the option to participate in 2 group psychedelic experiences using cannabis, which is currently the only legalized psychedelic, the benefits of which Firth says can be complex. There is something called the default mode network, which is sort of the frontal part of our brain in the frontal lobe, and that's really where our identity is stored and where our ego is stored, says Firth.
It's really cool. I have been using cannabis since I was a teenager. I've been using cannabis medically for pushing 15 years, like knowingly medically. But I have never used it as a ceremonial psychedelic.
I have.
And in November, when I go out to the Plant Spirit Medicine Conference, Stephen Gray is leading a ceremonial psychedelic cannabis journey. And I am so excited because, like, I mean, I always just thought you smoked it or you ate it or you put it on as a topical and off you go. So it's going to be really cool to be part of a ceremony where it's used as a healing psychedelic. And I'm just, my mind's blown by it. It's going to be really cool.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. So what psychedelics actually do is they help us to downregulate our default mode network and allow us to move into other parts of the brain and other parts of our body to understand things at a more truth level in terms of what the emotions really mean. The program officially launches on June 28th with the potential for it to expand into the future. Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, so just so you know, they're like, I mean, they are going to be taking people through a ceremony here, but what did they say? If I can scroll and find, we're going to learn the history, science, principles, and philosophy of psychedelics in therapeutic care. So I think that's kind of neat. It's not about learning how to use them or serve them. It's just about learning what they are, where they come from, how they're going to help. And I think it would go a long way in helping people get rid of some of that. And I'm going to use this term loosely, but I mean it for more than just cannabis. Get rid of some of that reefer madness thought pathways. because as we all know, what they've been teaching us the last 50 to 100 years, depending on what substance we're talking about, has been completely wrong.
Almost all BS on purpose.
Yeah. So, yeah. And with that, I will stop tripping over my words and say we get to go have a medication session now. Yay! It is break time for us to go medicate. Glenn and I will be right back after a sesh. And you are watching Psychedelics and Cannabis News Education here on paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. We will be back in just over 3.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you think of the number of unique products developed in the fields, kitchens, and labs at Legacy 420, it's hard to think that one stands out above the rest. But tell that to the thousands of people who have tried this amazing breakthrough product.
This is our Sacred Salve. This is actually our extra strength. It comes in 5 different strengths. It's all natural, all organic. It typically works within 10 to 15 minutes of putting it on. It's good for arthritis, it's good for inflammation, any kind of pain. We're very proud of it.
Sacred Salve, so easy to apply, along with soothing relief. To select a strength that's right for you, come in and talk to your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Pace Radio Network. By patients, for patients, and for those who want to know.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com.
Babe, it's spring. Just saw a robin.
Awesome. Let's get our butts to Limestone City Hydroponics. They carry Happy Frog and Ocean Forest soils and lots of pro mix.
Limestone City Hydroponics carry everything you need to get veggies veggin', from organic fertilizer to cloth grow pots to, well, everything. Visit them today. Don't delay. In-store, free delivery, or curbside. We're here to help. 613-548-0420.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Excellent. I was just on my phone back when COVID was happening, and I'm sorry, we're back from our medication session. We're live here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Boxcast, and paceradio.net. And during the medication session, I received a message from somebody who lives out in BC. During COVID, I took in donations of cannabis and food, and I ran them around my little province. And I would say probably a good 50% of my help on the cannabis side came from a gentleman who lives out west, who, had a very large facility, legacy facility, and he liked to send help to each province. So he picked me down here, and he sent me cannabis and edibles and concentrates and, just to, put into packages and run around the province. And I have been trying to meet him ever since, either when I've been out here or he's come down here. So I finally get to meet him and shake his hand on Sundays. So I'm pretty excited. I just kind of wanted to share that. That's going to be a pretty big meeting for me, and I get to say thank you in person. So
he's coming out here?
He arrived here this morning. He landed here this morning, and he just
Awesome.
messaged me and said, I'm here, and I'd like to come see you Sunday. So I'm pretty excited to shake his hand and say thank you.
Awesome. Say
Yeah.
thank you for everybody.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. So kind of got me in the emotional feels, and I wanted to share. Thank you for letting me share. We're going to head off to the next story. We're heading over to MJ Biz Daily, and we are going to take a look at Las Vegas cannabis consumption lounges encounter delays.
Okay, here we go. Cannabis operators and consumers anticipating consumption lounges opening this summer in Las Vegas will probably have to wait, of course. Administrative setbacks, tight funding, and changing regulations governing smoke ventilation have likely derailed the launch of dozens of lounges for months, with the real possibility that only a few might open by the year-end, industry experts told MJ Biz Daily.
Yeah, the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board, the CCB, the state's chief cannabis regulator, could address the regulatory issue at a June 20th meeting. Industry executives have raised concern about the state's consumption lounge regulations, particularly those covering indoor air quality and the related astronomical cost of installing and maintaining air ventilation systems. I just need to say in the last 2 weeks prior to this week, we have read stories on the Thursday show, you and I on one, and Al and I on another, that they have been, the UCLA was the one that you and I read about, doing studies on does cannabis smoke hurt the lungs either directly or indirectly with secondhand smoke, and they're finding that it doesn't. So, yeah. Anyway.
Those expenditures, which can amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars, would render consumption areas economically unfeasible for most operators and a near impossibility for social equity licensees, according to cannabis insiders. The industry for years has closely followed cannabis consumption lounge developments in Las Vegas, given its potential for cannatourism and global reputation for hospitality innovation.
Despite some earlier projections that lounges were on pace to open in 2022, the only legal consumption lounge in Nevada is the Nuwu Cannabis Marketplace, located on tribal land about 2 blocks down from downtown Las Vegas. The space, which has an outdoor dab and cannabis-infused beverage bar, is regulated by the Las Vegas Putui tribe. I did my best. I apologize. It probably wasn't right. And not by the state government.
Yeah. The latest setbacks in the national rollout of consumption areas largely considered the next iteration of cannabis retail and events might prove temporary. That's because Nevada regulators appear ready and willing to find an amicable solution with operators and other stakeholders regarding air ventilation concerns.
Yeah. We know that we're going to have to make tweaks to truly launch a successful license program like lounges, the CCB Executive Director Tyler Klimas told MJ Biz Daily. When Nevada regulators established a framework for consumption operations, they included stringent air quality standards, far more restrictions than for traditional hookah bars and taverns where patrons in Nevada can still smoke tobacco products if the smoking venue is located in a separate room and is off limits to minors.
Now that a few consumption spaces are in build-out, others are assessing air ventilation equipment needs. Some hard costs are materializing. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have a system. And if you're talking about 2,000 to 3,000 square foot space, that's a lot of money just to move air, said Scott Rutledge, partner of Argentum Partners, a government affairs and marketing firm based in Reno.
Rutledge was the chief lobbyist of the lounge bill in 2021 in the 2021 legislative session, and represents MJ Biz in some Nevada dealings, particularly the annual MJ BizCon conference at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Sarah Stewart, a consumption lounge expert, is refocusing efforts in Nevada on helping licensees raise capital rather than providing consulting services.
I would really love to know how she became a consumption lounge expert. As a company, we have realized that license holders don't have the capital, experience, or know-how to open and operate these brand new businesses, said Stewart, who's the co-founder of Ritual Cannabis Hospitality in Los Angeles. The Nevada regulators approved consumption lounges a year ago. They estimated 60 to 65 licenses would be issued.
Of those, roughly 40 to 45 licenses would be attached to existing cannabis stores, and another 20 would go to independent lounges, including 10 for social equity applicants or individuals with nonviolent cannabis conviction and who lived in a designated disadvantaged area. Red tape and other administrative setbacks have derailed progress as well. Well, of course it has.
The CBC, or CCB, extended deadlines for license holders to submit provisional use checklists, which include information on business plans, operations, and executive experience, among other things. Several social equity applicants failed to certify the required $200,000 in liquid assets to qualify. Wow.
They also need more guidance on completing paperwork on business development and operating protocols, according to Stewart, who is working with several applicants. I don't think any lounges will be open this summer, unfortunately, as the CCB deadline was pushed back a bit, and most don't have locations or are just starting construction, she said.
We are actively raising capital for several of them now. So hopefully by next summer, we will be opening doors on at least 3 concepts. Multi-state cannabis company Planet 13 Holdings planned to convert its Mexican eatery, Treese, into a consumption lounge, restaurant, and entertainment experience within its 112,000 square foot superstore just off the Las Vegas Strip.
Wow. The company isn't providing a timeline on the consumption lounge, a spokesperson told MJ Biz Daily via email. Rutledge, who's working with a few consumption licensed clients, expects to see a few venues open in September, maybe October, particularly the ones in build-out. Many others are awaiting final regulation before moving forward, he said.
It's unfortunate because we hope to see some lounges open up this spring, but it turns out it's going to take just a little bit longer, Rutledge added. I think in August we finalize our outstanding regs and then open Q3 of this year, if not the beginning of Q4.
Already preparing to push it off to Q4.
Yeah.
Consumption lounges are primarily clustered in only 3 markets in the country: Denver, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Last year, Chicago-based multi-state operator Green Thumb Industries opened Illinois's lone retail cannabis consumption lounge under its Rise brand in suburban
Mundelein?
Thank
Never
you.
heard of it.
I never knew why.
Mundelein. A few states, such as Maryland, which is set to launch adult use sales July 1st, allow consumers to bring their own cannabis and consume it at so-called cannabis cafes, but restrict the sale of MJ products at those venues. So you can bring it, you just can't buy it. House Bill 0566, which Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed into law May 3rd, establishing a recreational cannabis program, allows for 15 of those designated use establishments in the state.
Massachusetts regulator in May scrapped a pilot program to establish cannabis cafes in 12 municipalities, likely ending the potential for consumption spaces to open on the in the state this year, despite industry and local setbacks. CCB's Klimas is confident Nevada will develop a successful cannabis consumption industry, partly because of Las Vegas's leadership position in hospitality and a few key rules the Las Vegas City Council approved in March, including smoking and edibles consumption outdoors as well as retail.
Nevada has the most comprehensive social use consumption lounge allowances out there, he said. If you're going to be successful doing it anywhere, Las Vegas is going to be high on that list.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I like how they said that.
Yeah. Well, they've got one right now, but it's on Indigenous land. So yeah, it's just a matter of catching the rest of it up. It's going to take a whole bunch of Benjamins.
Yeah, it seems a little expensive to try and get in. You need 200,000 in liquid assets just to apply.
Yeah. Crazy. Heading over to our next story, coming to us from the Washington Examiner. Crenshaw unveils legislation to study psychedelic treatment for active duty service members.
Okay, give me one sec while it loads here. Okay. Representative Dan Crenshaw, who's a Republican from Texas, unveiled legislation that would create a grant program for research into the use of psychedelics for active duty service members suffering from brain injuries or mental trauma stemming from their service. The legislation, the Douglas Mike Day Psychedelic Therapies to Save Lives Act, that's a hell of a name, is named in honor of former Navy SEAL Mike Day, who took his life earlier this year. Crenshaw, a former Navy SEAL himself, introduced the legislation as a way to look at treating mental illness stemming from military service.
The bill would direct the Department of Defense to create a grant program to research the use of psychedelic in treating active duty service members for post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic traumatic,
encephalopathy,
and traumatic brain injury. The psychedelic substance eligible for use in the trials are psilocybin, DMT, I wonder which kind, MDMA, and ibogaine. The bill would authorize $15 million for trials each fiscal year between fiscals 2024 and 2028, totaling about $75 million.
And Mike's personal struggle wasn't an isolated case. More than 20 veterans kill themselves every day, Crenshaw said. 27% of post 9/11 veterans are diagnosed with PTSD, and the truth is that we have not made much progress in treating it. We have to think outside the box. We have to do something new. So that's why I'm once again calling on Congress to use this year's NDAA to direct the Secretary of Defense to provide grants for further research into the use of psychedelics to treat PTSD and TBI in our active duty service members. Now, what is TBI?
I don't know.
Okay. Bill passed out of the House last Congress, but ultimately died in the Senate. Crenshaw's hope is to get the bill in this year's National Defense Authorization Act.
TBI is traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
The bill has garnered bipartisan support from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and support from former Navy SEALs such as Representative Morgan Luttrell, Ryan Zink, and Derek Van Orden. It also has the support of Freedom Caucus member Representative Matt Gaetz. I think it should have the support of everybody.
It should.
That on average, 22 throughout North America, so Canadian and American, 22 veterans take their life a day. A day.
That number astounds me. I had no idea.
A day. 22 that we lose in North America. Well, 44, because they're saying each country is an average of 22. So that's a lot of people to take their life in North America every day, just in this field. It's so we need to get everybody needs to be on board. If we can save people's lives by giving them a mushroom, we need to do it. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, an average of 16.8 veterans committed suicide daily in 2020. In the same year, when adjusted for age and sex, the suicide rate for veterans was 57.3% greater for veterans than for adults who are not veterans, the department found. The department also has found that every 7 out of 100 veterans will have PTSD, and I think they're underestimating that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Crenshaw says he wants this legislation to pass to give service members another way to treat PTSD and other traumatic brain injuries that stem from their time overseas. And he said he believes psychedelic treatment can work. If I hadn't gone through it, my son would have a folded flag. And instead, he has a father. I think we need more for mothers and fathers, said Jonathan Lubecki, a veteran and the Veterans and Government Affairs Director for the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. Wow.
That's a pretty powerful statement that brought a tear to my eye. If I hadn't gone through it, meaning the psychedelic medicines, my son would have a folded flag, and instead he has a father.
Yeah.
If that doesn't say it all, whew. Luttrell, a former Navy SEAL, said he went overseas to receive this treatment after he left the military. The psychedelics he were given were ibogaine and 5-MeO DMT. Hey, that's what I did. The treatment changed his life and saved his marriage and is one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, he said. I second that.
If you find yourself in a place that you are lost and no other modularity dualities have worked. This could possibly be that tool, Luttrell said. And I can honestly stand in front of all of you and the American public and say I was reborn.
Yeah. 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 This one's got me crying. Yeah. I
And
agree.
the thing I really liked about this too is they only mentioned one Democrat. All the rest are Republicans, which are traditionally against anything like this, which is a really good sign.
Like I said, he had a very powerful sentence in there. If it wasn't for psychedelics, his son would have a folded flag.
Yeah.
That one got me crying. That's why I'm crying, because I really felt that. And, Iboga and 5-MeO DMT gave me my life back too, as well, kind sir. So I get that. And when I came back from Iboga, the first thing I said is, wouldn't it be amazing to have a program in place that when all of our veterans came back from combat, they came back and they did one of these medicines? Iboga, DMT, ayahuasca, there are many to choose from, but they come back and they go through a flood dose to help stop PTSD before it really gets going and takes hold of their life. I think it would be amazing to be able to bring our soldiers back and offer them healing when they land back on home soil. And I truly believe that this may be a first step towards that. And I truly think that, it can go that far in helping people. Like, if we bring our soldiers back and, hey, let's all go through this treatment, within the first few months that you're home, and help you before you're really hurt, and show them support and love that they totally deserve. And I got to stop now and go on to the next story, because if not, I will babble for a while. It's something that's pretty important to me, helping to cure PTSD or CPTSD.
Anything that helps.
We're going to take a deep breath and we're going to head over to the Fresh Toast. It's my favorite publication. Can CBD make your summer easy? Well, let's find out.
Okay. Come on. I have it. I just can't scroll it. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. Early in the summer, people bask in the sun. Sometimes too much sun is
no, you want to go up a couple of paragraphs. It starts up underneath the picture. Summer is here. As kids, it was a time to run free.
Okay. And enjoy the endless days. But as an adult, it is a bit different. Back to the office, sunburns, work, reaching out while you're at the beach, all spoiling what should be a great 3 months. Can CBD take the edge off and allow you to enjoy that summertime feeling? Science has indicated CBD can help make the most of the summer. When taking it correctly, it provides an effective option from skincare to helping you relax amidst the stress.
Interesting. Early in the summer, people bask in the sun, sometimes too much sun, which can be painful or just unsightly. CBD sunscreen may be able to help as reported. CBD has soothing properties that can help calm the skin, including when mosquito bites cause itching and irritation. CBD or not, it's always good to have sunscreen, especially in those first forays in shorts and the sunny day. It's very important to stay hydrated during the summer, especially if you're planning on staying active. The more you move and sweat, the more water and hydration you'll need. CBD drinks could be a fun option. These come in different flavors and formats, such as energy drinks and water, all helping you treat the pain and inflammation from workouts. They can also be an alternative to alcohol drinks, which don't help your body during the summer.
With heat exhaustion, CBD could potentially help you. In other words, it can minimize the impact of some of its symptoms. In particular, muscle pains and aches, fatigue and tiredness, and headaches and migraines. It's important to note that CBD will not actually reduce your body temperature. Tech and banking companies are saying back to the office starting this month, today's version of summer school. Working in an office is definitely not as soothing as looking out your windows or even working from the porch on a sunny day. Meetings, interruptions, your boss annoying, you can all disrupt your workflow. If you need help, Focusing on work or any other tasks you need to complete, CBD can be an option. Oil, tinctures, strips, and myriad other CBD products can help you control anxious thoughts while preventing lethargy.
Nice. And it won't get you high, so you can use it at work and not upset anybody. CBD back at home. If relaxing and unwinding are among your summer plans, CBD can assist with that as well. CBD oils play a subtle yet important role that grows more effective over time. Regular exposure can help you manage your heart rate, racing thoughts, and unstable patterns of sleep. All in all, enjoy the summer and make the most out of every day. Yes, summer is happening in 6 days, folks. 6 days. The countdown is on to summer.
It doesn't feel like summer here. I'm cold.
Yeah, I know. I've had the heat on for the past couple of days as well. But, you know, hopefully when the calendar says summer, the temperature will say summer. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Heading to the last story of the day. I have to scroll up before I bring it in. I had it second to last, but I thought, no, I think I'm going to put this last. And we've got about 12 minutes to talk about it before I have to do an ending. And I think it might spurt some conversation from Glenn. So I figured I would give him time to talk. How does a dose, because he found the story and he said he found it interesting. So that's why I say, just so you know, how does a dose of MDMA, let me start this again, how a dose of MDMA transformed a white supremacist.
Brendan was once a leader in the U.S. white nationalist movement, but when he took the drug MDMA in a scientific study, it would radically change his extremist beliefs. To the surprise of everyone involved, Rachel Newer investigates what happened. In February 2020, Harriet DeWitt, a professor of psychiatry and behavioral science at the University of Chicago, was running an experiment on whether the drug MDMA increased the pleasantness of social touch in healthy volunteers. The day was proceeding like any other Tuesday when Mike Brennan, DeWitt's research assistant, appeared at her office door with a concerned look on his face.
The latest participant in the double-blind trial, a man named Brendan, had filled out a standard questionnaire at the end. Strangely, at the very bottom of the form, Brendan had written in bold letters, "This experience has helped me sort out a debilitating personal issue. Google my name. I now know what I need to do." Seeing the cryptic message, both Bremer and DeWitt were worried. "We really have to look into this," DeWitt said. They Googled Brendan's name and up popped a disturbing revelation. Until just a couple of months before, Brendan had been the leader of the U.S. Midwest faction of Identity Evopa, a notorious white nationalist group rebranded in 2019 as the American Identity Movement. 2 months earlier, activists at Chicago Anti-Fascist Action had exposed Brendan's identity, and he had lost his job.
DeWitt was now very worried. She'd just given a drug to a disgraced white supremacist, she realized, and had apparently inspired him to do who knows what out in the world. Go ask him what he means by "I now know what I need to do," she instructed Bremer. It's a matter of him picking up an automatic rifle or something. We have to intervene. A murder spree turned out to be the opposite of what Brendan had in mind. As he clarified with Bremer, love is what he just realized he had to do. Love is the most important thing, he told the baffled research assistant. Nothing matters without love.
That's beautiful. When DeWitt recounted the story to me nearly 2 years after the fact, she still could hardly believe it. "Isn't that amazing?" she said. "It's what everyone says about this damn drug, that it makes people feel love. To think that a drug could change somebody's beliefs and thoughts without any expectations, it's mind-boggling." Over the past few years, I've been investigating the scientific research and medical potential of MDMA for a book called I Feel Love, MDMA and the Quest for Connection in a Fractured World. I learned how this once vilified drug is now reemerging as a therapeutic agent, a role it previously played in the 1970s and 80s prior to its criminalization. So it's only been illegal for like 35-ish years. Could transform the field of mental health through widespread clinical use in the US and beyond for addressing trauma and possibly other conditions as well, including substance use disorders, depression, and eating disorders.
But could MDMA transform people's beliefs too? MDMA does not seem to be able to magically rid people of prejudice, bigotry, or hate on its own. But some researchers have begun to wonder if it could be an effective tool for pushing people who are already somehow primed to consider their ideology toward a new way of seeing things. While MDMA cannot fix social or societal level drivers of prejudice and disconnection on an individual basis, it can make a difference. In certain cases, the drug may even be able to help people see through the fog of discrimination and fear that divides so many of us. When DeWitt told me the story about Brendan, I wanted to hear more about what happened directly from the horse's mouth. So in December 2021, I paid Brendan a visit. He asked that his last name not be revealed as he's trying to distance himself from his past. As I rode the elevator up to his apartment in a luxury high-rise overlooking Lake Michigan, I felt a flutter of nervousness. I was unsure of what kind of person I would be meeting, and even half-jokingly texted a couple of friends to let them know where to come looking for me in case I disappeared. What I didn't expect was how ordinary the 31-year-old who answered the door would appear to be. Blue plaid button-up shirt, neatly cropped hair, and a friendly smile.
After politely hanging up my coat, he explained that back when he was a white nationalist leader, cultivating an air of ordinariness had been exactly the point. I really wanted it to be for guys making a good amount of money who are educated and who could feel comfortable joining these sorts of communities, he said. I wanted to normalize it. Brendan grew up in an affluent Chicago suburb in an Irish Catholic family. He learned liberal in high school, but got sucked into white nationalism at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, when he joined a fraternity most composed of conservative Republican men, began reading anti-Semitic conspiracy books, and fell down a rabbit hole of racist, sexist content online. Brendan was further emboldened by the populist rhetoric of Donald Trump during his presidential campaign. His speech talking about Mexicans being rapists, the fixation on the border wall and deporting everyone, the Muslim ban. I didn't get white nationalism until Trump started running for president, Brendan said.
Seems like a lot of people got it right about that same time. Brendan joined Identity Irvopa to connect with some others who shared his views. He attended the notorious Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville and quickly rose up the ranks of his organization, first becoming the coordinator for Illinois and then the entire Midwest. He traveled to Europe and around the U.S. to meet other white nationalist groups with the ultimate goal of making the movement mainstream. Brendan likely would have continued in the vein were it not for his identity becoming public. A group of anti-fascist activists published identifying information about him and more than 100 other people in Identity Irvopa. He was immediately fired from his job and ostracized by his siblings and friends outside white nationalism.
When Brendan saw a Facebook ad in early 2020 for some sort of drug trial at the University of Chicago, he decided to apply just to have something to do and earn a little money. At one of his visits, he was given a pill. He didn't know it, but he had just taken 110 milligrams of MDMA. At the time, Brendan was still in the denial stage following his identity becoming public, he said. He was racked with regret, not over his bigoted views, which he still held, but over the missteps that had landed him in this predicament. About 30 minutes after taking the pill, he started to feel peculiar. Wait a second. Why am I doing this? Why am I thinking this way? He began to wonder. Why did I ever think it was okay to jeopardize relationships with just about everyone in my life?
Just then, Brenner came to collect Brennan to start the experiment. Brendan slid into the MRI, and Brenner started tickling his forearm with a brush and asked him to rate how pleasant it felt. I noticed it was making me happier. The experience of touch, Brendan recalled. I started progressively making it higher and higher, rating it higher and higher, as he relished in the pleasant, pleasurable feeling. A single powerful word dropped from his mind: connection. It suddenly seemed so obvious connections with other people were all that mattered. This stuff, you can't really put it into words, but it was so profound, Brendan said. I conceived of my relationships with other people not as distinct boundaries with distinct entities, but more as we are all one. I realized I'd been fixated on stuff that doesn't really matter and is just so messed up, and that I'd been totally missing the point. I hadn't been soaking up the joy that life has to offer.
Wow. That night, Brendan reached out to Chicago Anti-Fascist Action and connected with the specific activist S, who had gone undercover in identity Uvopa before revealing Brendan's identity. S asked me to not to reveal his name to ensure that he can continue his undercover work as an activist. At first, S was skeptical when Brendan claimed that MDMA made him want to prioritize connecting with other people above all else. But he was heartened, when Brendan started taking steps that seemed to indicate his sincere commitment to change. Brendan hired a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant to advise him, enrolled in therapy, began meditating, and started working his way through a list of educational books. S still regularly communicates with Brendan, and for his part, thinks that Brendan is serious in his efforts to change. Pardon me, it's been a couple of years we've been working together, trying to disconnect him from things that were harmful and reconnect him with positive reinforcement and, get him ideologically educated, as told me. I think he's trying to better himself and work on himself. And I do think that the experience with MDMA has an impact on him. It's been a touchstone for growth. And over time, I think the reflection on that experience has had a greater impact on him than necessarily the experience himself.
Brendan is still struggling, though, to make the connection with others that he craves. When I visited him, he just spent Thanksgiving alone. He also has not completely abandoned his bigoted ideology, and it's not sure if that will ever be possible. There are moments when I have racist or anti-Semitic thoughts, he said, but now I can recognize that those kinds of thought patterns are harming me more than anyone else. While Brendan's experience is outside the norm, it's not without precedent. In the 1980s, for example, the acquaintance of early MDMA-assisted therapy practitioner Requa Greer administered the drug to a pilot who had grown up in a racist home and had inherited those views. The pilot had always accepted his bigoted way of thinking as being normal, accurate reflection of the way things were. MDMA, however, gave him a clear vision that unexamined racism was both wrong and mean, Greer says.
Rare as they might be, stories such as these are worth examining for the implications that they give about MDMA's potential ability to influence a person's values and priorities. As DeWitt and several co-authors wrote in a case study they published about Brendan in 2021 in the journal Biological Psychiatry. If extremist views are fueled by fear, anger, and cognitive bases, the researchers posed, might these be targets of pharmacological intervention? And with that, I'm going to have to end the story. This has been really interesting. I am really, 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 really thankful you found this story, Glenn. Thank you so much for bringing that. That was a great story. Please.
It's a really cool story, and it's something that I had never even considered in my life before.
Yeah. Sadly, I need to interrupt you because I don't have enough time for us to chat. We are at that moment. That's our PACE News report for today, June 15th, 2023, from the Legacy420.com news desk, and for our buds over at Campbellford Lifestyle, Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Legacy 420, and of course our newest, Limestone Hydroponics. Yes, I remembered. In closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching or listening, because we do both. Catch our next broadcast with Reverend Kelly and Al on Monday. And as Al would say, do not forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. And have yourself a wonderful weekend. Catch us back here next Thursday. Bye.
Peace.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Babe, it's spring. Just saw Robin.
Awesome. Let's get our butts to Limestone City Hydroponics. They carry Happy Frog and Ocean Forest soils and lots of promos.
Limestone City Hydroponics carry everything you need to get veggies veggin', from organic fertilizer to cloth grow pots to, well, everything. Visit them today. Don't delay. In-store, free delivery, or curbside. We're here to help. 613-548-0420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.